Well, hello and good morning on this very sad morning here in Portugal, the 30th of January 2026. And I'll bring onto the screen to do the news review this week live in these extraordinary circumstances, Natasha Donn from the Portugal resident. Good morning to you, Natasha. What a morning. What an amazing, or not amazing, what a disastrous and difficult and challenging couple of days.
Right.
For
And it's going to go
Portugal.
on. This is just the beginning. There's
Oh,
so much to
okay.
clear up, so much
Yes,
that has
yes.
been destroyed. It's a huge job. I think I saw, because obviously we're talking early morning, so we haven't started writing for the day yet, but I think I saw something today about the government is already appealing to the European Union for help to fix all the damage. And I think there is a European commissioner going to Marinha Grande, which is one of the places in Leiria district that was so cut off and so desperate yesterday.
Indeed. Yes.
There were so many places that felt that they'd been sort of almost cut off from the whole world.
It did feel like that. I myself live in the district of Leiria, where a state of calamity has been declared. I think across the country, there were some reports of 1 million people without power. And that wasn't just a sort of flash outage. In fact, the apagao that happened last year was shorter in duration, wasn't it, than for many people. The power was back on by 11 in the evening, I think.
It could have been because, people were off power from Wednesday, and then yesterday there was still 300 and something thousand off power.
We lost our power for nearly to the hour, 48 hours, and I know there are still people
that's massive, isn't it? Because the apagao was 12.
Yes, indeed. So a seriously devastating situation, state of calamity here in Portugal. You've been reporting on this since it hit. When was the first news coming through, Natasha, about Storm Kristin?
Well, funnily enough, on Wednesday, I was writing at 6, only because obviously the wind that had come, we were only very, very vaguely affected. We're on the west coast, down in the south, had spooked one of my cats, which sort of landed on my face and it was all wet. And I thought, do I go back to sleep or see what's going on? And I got up to see what was going on. So I started writing about it then. There were things coming through then. I think by then already they had the death. Oh, yes. They'd already reported the one death of the poor baker. Poor baker. I mean, his car was pulverized.
Right. So he's out just doing his job.
What's the chances of driving along a road and having a massive tree fall right on your car as you pass by? So few chances.
Indeed. And that's one of 5 or 6 deaths that have been reported in these last
5 to 6.
hours.
At the moment, I think that they're always very careful on how they exactly classify them. So although I think 6 people have died, there are only 5 classified as a result of the storm. I mean, like hit by horrible flying, metal structures and things.
And these are people who found themselves outdoors. It's definitely worth reiterating the point, isn't it? When these storms hit, best place to be is deep inside, away from windows, and stay as
not in a car, and certainly not in a parked car by trees.
Yes, yeah, indeed. And now you live in the Algarve. How was it in your part in the south?
Well, I mean, it's been so wet, hasn't it, for so many weeks. The people I know who live on the other side, because I kind of live nestling into a mountain. So on the other side, where the sea is, there was apparently a wind like you can't believe. But because I'm right underneath the mountain at the top, the wind must have gone straight over. So I didn't really feel it. But obviously one of my cats had been on the wrong side of the mountain.
Right.
Which is why it then came in, in a bit of a state.
And alerted you to.
But I didn't notice anything. I mean, the rain is the rain, and of course, masses of wind. But the wind wasn't gusting at the massive kilometers per hour that have been going on elsewhere.
Yes, up to 179 kilometers per hour, I think, was one recorded wind speed, which is extraordinary. That was, I think, at the Monte-Real Air Base, wasn't it? That also in Leiria, where a couple of fighter jets are supposed to have been damaged as well.
And yesterday there was a gust. Apparently, it has to be, confirmed, but a gust of 202 kilometers in Coimbra, a place called
Soure. Was that Soure? Is that the one?
Huh?
Soure, Sura, is that the
Sur.
place?
No, I don't think
Yes.
it was there. It was somewhere
Okay.
called De Gracias or
Oh,
something.
okay. Okay. So unconfirmed reports of 200 plus
Yeah,
kilometer per hour winds. This,
extraordinary.
we're looking at your report yesterday of Redi Espresso's coach in the
Yeah,
coach
that was
station.
Lady a bus station.
That city was very badly hit. Anyone who knows the football ground there, that was looked shredded in the
Totally
pictures.
destroyed. But then
So
remember, that's exactly where the storm came in. It came in Leiria. That's where it entered the national territory. So it was
yes,
just sod's law. Leiria was just in the wrong place.
yes. And in your history of living in Portugal, how would you rate this? Is this some of the worst sort of weather damage you've seen to the country?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Spain's, as I said, but it's like Spain's Valencia horror. It's something that nobody has seen anything on the, I mean, yes, there've been earthquakes that have caused damage, but nothing like this.
No, indeed. Jackie's joining us, sending bon dia and love and prayers. We have somebody called the Porky Feet with us as well. Gemini's here too. The Porky Feet telling us a huge tree had fallen on Coimbra Hospital. We saw when we were there yesterday.
God.
Fortunately, it landed on a flat part of the hospital, just missing the windows. As you say, yeah, thank God.
Yeah, that's so lucky. I mean, that poor baker.
This is the story all over Portugal, isn't it? With these horrible near misses, but lots of damage. And as you say, Natasha, this is just the beginning because the clear up has to begin now. The news focus will move inevitably, but there's still lots of clearing up to do.
Yeah, and we haven't done much on it. I think we did something yesterday. One of us did, Michael, I think. But the farmers, they've lost masses.
Right.
They've lost whole harvests. I mean, with the rain that we've had anyway, a lot of the crops that are in the ground, the roots are going rotten before they're coming out, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
And then with this sort of massive wind, I think things must have blown over or fallen, or it's going to be staggering, the quantity of things that have actually been destroyed.
Yes. And how do you rate the governmental response to this? I know sometimes you can be a little bit critical of what's happening. How do you rate them on this occasion?
Well, at the moment we can't rate them because we can't see what they've actually done. Yes, they've said we've declared a situation of calamity because they were being treated by the various regions, but we can't really say what they've done to help yet because at the moment they're just assessing everything.
Yes, indeed.
It's a matter really, and this is the thing, there's no point saying, a bit like in the terrible fires, you say the government says they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and then you read X months later of people who've had absolutely no help at all and are still sheltering in the wreckage of their home. So we just have to see what the government does. But obviously by appealing to Europe for help, I mean, that's, Europe can't solve everything, but presumably there's a special fund that gives.
You would imagine so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
This is the football ground, I believe.
I'm not sure. Yes, I think it is. It's outside the football ground in Leiria.
Yeah, from the Journal de Leiria. A full 24 hours since the weather bomb. That's one description of it as well, isn't it? This particular. Yeah. It seems that there's always a new kind of nomenclature, is that the word, but a new descriptions for every kind of weather pattern that's coming and why it's particularly
I know I suppose they have to keep us all terrified as well.
There is that, isn't there?
It does sound pretty ghastly.
On this occasion, it was justified on this occasion for sure. The weather bomb of Depression Kristin hit Portugal. The country is nowhere near recovering from its effects. This is your report from yesterday, I believe. In fact, it is only slowly understanding the depth of the damage. And that's what we'll be facing today, isn't it, Natasha? Is the tally, I suppose, the aftermath, and figuring out now things have calmed down a little bit, how people can help each other and how to prioritize the recovery process.
Exactly. And how to help people who've lost their roofs, and how to, there's going to be an enormous amount of, I think by declaring situations of calamity, they cut down on lots of bureaucracy so things can move more quickly, and permissions to do this and permissions to do that can be more quick.
Yes.
Whether people have the money and, this is all, still very, very early days.
Yep. My colleague Michael writing here, Michael Brujo, storm claims 6 lives as bad weather wreaks havoc across the country. And a crane fell onto a vehicle due to the passage of storm Kristin in Leria again here. Look at that.
I know, it's
Shocking picture there. That
unbelievable. And
photo of
I keep thinking,
California.
I always think of sort of ridiculous things perhaps, but imagine that something falls on your car and you're insured, but the thing is they say to you, oh, but hang on a minute, like in the case of me, your car's only worth X on the
Yes.
market value, so you end up being an unwitting victim, but you've got no car and you haven't been given
Yeah.
enough money from the insurance company to buy a new one.
Well, there is going to be quite the wait for people as well, isn't there? Things obviously need to be prioritized for the most needy, but the insurance companies will be inundated, obviously, today. There's that picture of the Ferris wheel just laid flat by Storm Kristin there. That was on the 28th. That was soon after, wasn't it? The morning after.
That was in the early hours of the morning. That was literally as it struck, because you can see it's right by the sea, so it would have probably gone down straight away.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's what we need to do then is assess the damage now, figure out how we can help each other. A question I was asked on my morning show this morning was, are there like charitable giving sites where people can donate? Does that happen here in Portugal, where you can donate to a public fund to help with the cleanup and
well, maybe it's going to start,
people?
but I haven't heard of one yet.
Okay, all right. So
I haven't heard of one, but I mean, when we have the fires in the summer, we normally have organizations, often in different areas, but in the Algarve, we have somebody who says we're collecting blankets, bandages, this and that, and we're going to drive up to wherever it is that's been, terribly badly affected, and then everybody in the Algarve can get stuff to that central point. But at the moment, I haven't heard anything.
Best place for people to look, Natasha. A lot of foreigners, I think, in the country will be thinking, how can I help? How can I muck in? Should they report to their local Junta de Freguesia or the Bombeiros? What would be the best way to find out how you can help?
Do you know what? I don't know. Just look at the news and then you'll hear it. But yes, I mean, you could go to the Bombeiros, but they won't know. So it'll be a bit of a wasted journey. Do you know what I mean? But
Andy says, look, I'm sure your local Bombeiros will know. So yeah, perhaps that is a place to start. Sorry, I interrupted.
Well, certainly up where Porky Feet is, because he's up in Coimbra. They will definitely have places collecting.
Yes. Okay. You were saying it's just the beginning. Obviously, the cleanup to follow. I thought you were referring to the fact that there are more storms to come. Have you been keeping an eye on that as well? What else is in store weather-wise?
Yeah, well, funnily enough, I haven't got the link immediately handy, but there was a climatologist on Seek on the day of the storm on Wednesday, and he said, listen, this is something that we're going to be getting more of, and I cannot possibly say we're not going to get another storm this winter.
Right. Okay.
So, keeping keeping everybody, the rain is continuing. I mean, if you look at your phone, you'll see that I think it's continuing until at least February the 11th.
Yes. Oh, what poor weather.
Bad weather. And we don't know what storms are coming in there. We haven't been told yet, but
okay. Best places to stay updated with that. Obviously, keep an eye on the resident homepage. We'll keep you informed of that. IPMA is another good source.
IPMA is a good one. I think it's the best one, really.
Okay, so that's
because they've got long forecasts. They've got good forecasts for 10 days.
Right. Okay, I'll put that into the chat so that people can see that. It seems a little bit it's not quite the right thing to do, I think, to do our normal news review of other stories. This is the dominant story, and this is what we need to be focusing on and recovering from at the moment. Is there anything more you want to add on this, Natasha?
I don't think so. I mean, it's just, I think we just have to follow what's happening. I mean, obviously, because it's quite funny in a way, because the presidential elections are, or the runoff, as we were talking about last week, because that's happening in the background. The outspoken candidate for Chega is trying to say as much as he can against the government, but we can't say anything against the government other than the fact there is something one could say. But I mean, again, perhaps unnecessary and uncharitable. But in the old days, when we had any kind of national disaster, the Minister of Interior Administration would be all over the news, saying this, saying that,
Yes.
calming people, visiting areas. Our Minister of Interior Administration has not opened her mouth. I mean, she's been seen in the background. It's true. She's been seen in the background around the Prime Minister. But that is just not, I don't know, it's just a real break with the past. It may be that this government wants a break with the past and doesn't want certain ministers to talk. But that seems odd too. Because, I mean, the whole thing is meant to be a team.
Indeed. And you made the same observation, I think, about health, didn't you? The conspicuously noticeable by their absence of comment, the health minister as well. And then when they did say something,
she's just presumably breathing a sigh of relief that the news is all focused on something else at the moment.
Yes, interesting. You mentioned the runoff, which sounds like a weather phenomenon in its own right. That's a week on Sunday will be the deciding contest between the two presidential candidates, Andre Ventura and Senor Seguro, as well. How have they responded to this? I thought for a moment you could make the joke, as inappropriate as it might be, that Chega will be blaming the weather on the foreigners. At the moment, it's an immigrant of a kind, isn't it? The weather blowing in from the Atlantic.
No.
What sort of response have you seen? Because this would be a useful moment to be perhaps showing their mettle as presidential candidates in how they deal with this emergency for the country.
Yeah, and I think obviously the more sensible, middle of the road, or not perhaps middle of the road, but certainly the more respected candidate has been very presidential, basically saying, it's not really up to me to talk about this because it's something the government's dealing with. I've got tremendous solidarity with all the people, and I'm so sad about what's happened. But he didn't say any criticism. And the Chega guy is full of criticism.
So quite polar.
Yes,
you might say, unsurprisingly, completely. Yes, and not somebody who's stepping forward as somebody who you would really want to get behind or offer your vote to as somebody outstanding. Quite predictable.
Well, no, I mean, I think that everybody who likes Chega or doesn't like the idea of a socialist, they're still behind him. But I don't think there are as many of them as there are behind the socialist candidate.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a week on Sunday.
Exactly.
In continuing bad weather, adding to the political bad weather, the presidential election, the last of all the elections we've had over the last few months here in Portugal. And I guess our final message this morning is to stay safe on the news review out there. Stay indoors if you can, stay safe. Keep an eye on the media, including the Portugal resident, of course, and Natasha will continue to report on what's on the news that's coming in folling on from
exactly. I'm not sure what's coming in today. Let me have a look. But it's funny how they, I think it's, they're still saying there's 384,000 customers without energy still.
Right.
Oh no, hang on. That was yesterday. There's a European commissioner visiting Marinha Grande. I mean, I think everybody's just still going around the country trying to work out.
Make sense of the situation, right?
Yeah. The PM saying it's very important that Europe steps in to help.
Yes.
It's 290,000 now still without electricity as of this morning.
Okay.
So it's a very slow return. It'll be a very slow return to normal. And for some communities, it'll be impossible because they said that I think something like 490 high tension cables came down.
Yeah.
And when they came down, these cables, they don't just fall neatly on an empty field. They fall into thickets of trees. And so then you've got everything snarled up in bushes and twigs and goodness knows what. And you have to be chainsawing your way through it all. It's going to take an awfully long time. And of course, all the operators, well, they'll be very cheesed off, won't they? Because they are basically trying to make as much money as possible. Now they're going to be having to spend an enormous amount to repair their networks.
My goodness, I hadn't thought of it like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard somebody say is that this is teaching everybody that they should have Starlink.
Wow. Okay.
Because obviously if you had Starlink, for your communications, you'd still have had them all the way through the.
I'm thinking about that. This is an inadvertent advertisement for Starlink in a way, isn't it? But
yeah, I didn't mean to be an
no,
advertising, but apparently, if you've got Starlink, you'd still have your communications. You see,
yes,
because
well, it's
nothing's
true, isn't it?
affected up there.
We need to think about our whole kind of prepping, if you like, off-grid kit.
Well, the other thing that struck me, now we're talking about, we have to think about preparation. Yes, because I mean, I heard that people in Ladia had run out of water and run out of food. And I thought that's odd, because even I am not organized. I've got a load of cans. I've got water hidden away. I've got, evaporated milk. I've got everything, hidden away in little nooks and crannies in case anything happens. But what I did think was bizarre about this is people are all being affected by electricity being cut, and they're saying they can't even cook. Well, if they had gas, they would be able to cook. And I simply don't understand. The government keeps trying to tell people, you must give us your gas appliances and we'll give you vouchers to buy electrical appliances. And I think, well, I don't actually see. I know they think we're saving the planet. Rubbish. We're actually helping, I suppose, a bunch of suppliers that they've got chummy with, but I don't see that it's actually very good if you want to survive a crisis not to have gas. I think gas is really important.
You're in charge of that, aren't you? As long as you've got the gas bottle, as we were able to have the water held up, so we were able to have hot water, and we were able to cook with a gas hob, which is an absolute godsend in the conditions we faced in the last 48 hours.
I know, particularly if you've got children like you have.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember during the apagao, my youngest son is living in Lagos with his mother-in-law and his wife and others, and he said, "Oh, Mummy, it's terrible. We can't cook." And I said, "But darling, what haven't you got gas?" He said, "No, we've got an electric oven." So, they were all really upset.
Things worth remembering. And the apagao, we know that was April of last year, wasn't it?
That was April, I think 29th or something.
So in less than 12 months, we've had two serious situations where we've been, outages, blackouts, being cut off from essential supplies. It's definitely worth thinking about how to prepare yourself.
I think it's a message of how to make yourself more resilient. Don't listen necessarily to all the idiotic sort of fashionable propaganda, and just try and think, how can I be actually warm and have something to eat?
Take responsibility for your own safety and well-being to some extent.
Yeah, because you see, if you've got, again, if so many people I know seem to have their heating with their air conditioning. Well, I haven't got air conditioning, and my heating is with wood. So of course I was I'm always as warm as toast.
Okay, so just the Starlink to get now then, Natasha, if you're watching Elon Musk.
Starlink, that's it.
Send the Starlink to Natasha so she can stay connected.
And remember that battery-powered radio, so important. They talked about it on the news yesterday. They said all the people in Marina Grande were huddled round the one person who had a radio.
Yes, indeed, like you have in your video. You were that person, weren't you, in the
I was that person.
As I recall. One last thing that's come to mind. You mentioned the flooding in Spain, where I recall the situation became so grave and challenging for people that when the king turned up to offer, the kind of glad handing, everything's going to be all right, presence, they pelted him with mud, didn't they?
Him with mud. But that was slightly different, because in that respect, it was the fact that they hadn't been given any warning.
Right. Okay.
And in this case, we've been, we're always, if there's a puff of wind, you get a message now from civil protection saying, be careful with your drains and don't go out and stay off the roads and whatever. And I think we did get all the warnings. We were told it was going to be a pretty awful storm.
Good. Okay. Well, good to know that the authorities were ahead of that and alerted everybody. And I suspect we can rely on the Portuguese personality, if you're the national identity, to stay calm and work hard and get the show back on the road, as it were, on a national basis. And this might be a good point to end on. Thank you very much. 3 peas in a pod, I think, from the UK, a message. Bon dia, sending comforting thoughts. Work safely on the cleanup. That's a pretty good point to end there on this special. a news review with Natasha Donn from The Resident on the aftermath here of Storm Kristin. Thank you, Natasha.
Not at all. See you next week. And
we'll
stay well.
Stay well and stay in tune with the headlines at allthewsportugalresident.com.
Okay. Take care.